There we go. Thank you. I'm assuming that you're clapping. I'm so glad to be with you. I did that because the guitar is the best way that I have to illustrate something I am absolutely passionate about. I believe that we are each capable of far more than we ever knew was possible. I believe regardless of our level of success, which is obvious because you're here, we are each a gold mine of unrealized potential. And we are surrounded every moment of the day by opportunities to access that potential. Opportunities that by and large we miss. Opportunities to step beyond what's been done before, to look at old things in a new way. For me to play the guitar a little differently than it's been played for the last 500 years. And I'm going to assume that you guys agree with me, right? You're my people. So the question becomes, how do we access that potential? Now, as Jackie mentioned, I got the opportunity to share with you last year the What If Keynote experience. And a few things have changed since then. I always like to ask people this. There's a question I've asked audiences for years. I want you to complete this phrase just in your mind. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Here's the problem with that. Time breaks everything. If it's working now, it likely will not be very soon. And guess what just happened about 6 months ago? Time broke everything. Don't get me wrong, this pandemic will end. Believe it or not, that's the good news. It will end. And things will happen that are similar to before. But everything will be changed in some way or another. What we need to remember, though, as we go forward, that in the wake of massive disruption, there is always massive opportunity. The question is, how do we access that opportunity? How do we act on the opportunities? How do we find them and do something about them? So, as you know, I shared the What If Keynote experience. A number of you know that I shared that last year. And that question has never been more valid than right now. And you'll see where we're still going to use that a little bit. But what my clients, as Jackie said, what my clients have been asking me is, what now? What do we do now? So what I would like to do for you in the first 30 minutes that we have here is to share with you the two mindsets that you absolutely must adopt to be able to get the most out of what's happening right now. And then the three moves that every company, organization, and individual who are successful right now, and I don't mean 3 or 4 months ago or 6 months ago, I mean the ones who are successful right now, this is what they're doing. I'm going to share those with you in the next few minutes. And then I have the opportunity to share with you in about an hour later a 30-minute breakout session where we're going to kind of flesh these out a little bit and see exactly how we apply them. And both are going to be a lot of fun. So I invite you to join me for that. So first of all, as travel professionals especially, this is true for everyone, but especially for you, where your industry is based on fun, it's based on business, it's based on opportunity, helping others to find those. Number one, it is your job to not get discouraged. You need to be up. You need to see that there's hope. You need to share with others that there's hope. You need to let people know that things are going to be better and to be that reassuring force in people's lives. And number two, to get the most out of what's happening right now to serve your clients in the best way, what I need you to do is to think big. And to think big as you define big. So what I'd like to do right now is a little exercise, a little experiment. Okay, so what I'd like you, I know you're sitting there at home somewhere. I want you to do this for me. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about what you do right now. The essence of your business, the essence of your career, the essence of what you do for your clients and customers. Get a picture of it in your mind right now. Now, I want you to think big about that. I want you to expand the vision of what you do. Expand it. What else could it be? How big could it be? Again, it doesn't mean you're going to do this, but just let's expand our minds as to what's possible for you to do for your clients, for your business, for yourselves, for your teams. Expand that. Think big about that. Get a new picture of that in your mind right now. Okay? Now, I want you to take that new picture and I want you to think bigger about it. I know, that's a little different. Think bigger about it. What if it was bigger than that? What would it look like? Get kind of crazy about it. Again, you're not committed to this. We're just imagining, right? Get a larger vision of what's possible. Okay, you've got that new picture, that grand picture. Now, I want you to think bigger than that. I want you to expand the vision of what you can do. Expand the vision of how you can serve clients and customers. Expand the vision of what's possible, income-wise, size of your organization, the impact that you have. Get grandiose about this. Get crazy, just for fun, just for a moment. Just get this grand new vision of what's possible. You got it? What does that feel like? Okay, now I want you to open your eyes. Open your eyes, come on back here. And I want you to realize that you're thinking small. Compared to what is possible, compared to what you and your teams are capable of, that grand third incarnation of a huge vision is actually thinking small. So, that doesn't mean you have to create whatever it is. You might, but it doesn't mean you have to. But it does mean that the limitation is not out there. The limitation is simply here. So as you expand your vision and your thoughts about what's possible will actually expand. So let's jump in. Those are the two mindsets. I need you to not get discouraged. And I need you to be willing to think big, to think differently, to think new about what's possible. I do my research, and as soon as COVID hit and things shut down, I went into research mode and I went into, I wanted to learn, I wanted to see what was happening. So I studied my clients who were being successful, as well as some there was one or two that were not. I studied outside of my client base who was being successful. And I started looking for the common denominators. I was wondering, is there a common denominator amongst the people who are successful, again, amongst the individuals as well as the teams, as well as the entire organizations that are successful? And if I find a common denominator, I get excited because that's a tool that I can teach. Well, I found 3. And it's so interesting to me because I shared these in the call preparing for this. I shared these with Jackie and the team. I shared exactly what I was finding. And she said, I can't believe it. That's exactly what we're talking about. So these are the common denominators of organizations who are functional and working and thriving and not just surviving, but actually succeeding, some of them magnificently right now. 3 things that you have to do. So some of them tie into what I was sharing before. I'm going to give you a basis of how to apply each of those. And then we're going to go a little bit deeper once we get to the breakout session. So first of all, the teams and organizations who are successful. Number 1, they're discovering opportunities, particularly from their front line, from the people who are dealing with customers and clients and situations and challenges right immediately. Frontline managers, frontline salespeople, frontline service providers. The key here is to move from service provider to problem solver. It's a huge difference. Service provider to problem solver. A service provider comes in ready to do what they do, and that's absolutely valid. But the organizations who are successful right now, and we're talking from Orkin to Walmart, okay? Both of which are clients of mine. They are trusting their front line, and their service providers are going and saying, hey, not just how do we do what we do, but what is it that you need done? How do we solve your problem? And they're giving them the authority and the autonomy to solve those problems. So imagine when you can expand beyond simply providing a travel solution, but to the other challenges that someone might have that are preventing the travel that they want to do. Imagine what that could be. And the best way to do this is the way I shared in the beginning, and that is by asking the question, what if? To to change anything, the first thing that has to change is our brains, the way we think. There's an inertia to the old way of thinking that just wants to keep doing the same thing. The most basic human brain function, cognitive function, is to ask questions. Your brain and mine, thousands of times a day, are just asking questions. It's like a computer, just and answering those questions. Let's say you're driving. Your brain is going, these are internal questions. Which direction am I going? Is the light turning red or green? Should I turn left or right? What did she say? What did she mean by what she said? So what I'd love for you to do throughout this day, okay, this is a Zoom conference, but it's obviously a lot of fun. The Hawaiian thing's going on. People are very upbeat. It's being run very well. Start to observe the questions that your brain asks. And these are internalized questions. They're not verbalized. It's the self-talk that's going on inside of all of us. And by the way, that self-talk does nothing less than define the quality of your life and all of your results. Everything comes from the way we're talking to ourselves. So if you change the questions you're asking, you change your results. And while there are many great questions, you already know my favorite. It absolutely, you know this, it's something you've done before, but I'm going to invite you to revisit it with me. The question is, of course, what if? What if we could do that? What would it look like? Oh, I know, it's crazy. We're probably not going to do it. But what if we did? How would it work? Or what if we had to create this? How would we go about doing it? Here's the challenge. I'm going to bet you every one of us on this call right now has what I call the naysayers, the ones who throw wet blankets on new ideas, the ones who shoot things down. They've got this negative influence. Oh, we can't do that. That's going to cost too much. That's going to take too much time. Or my favorite, we've never done it that way before, right? You've got them somewhere in your life. If you don't have them anywhere in your life, be careful, because it might be you. Not on this call. No one on this call, right? Here's what I do with the naysayers, because I'm an artist. I get them a lot. In fact, there's two people in my life I know are going to be the ones who have that sort of a negative response to my crazy ideas. And I live on ideas. I do crazy things. I performed a duet of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony on stage with myself via hologram. A hologram of me appeared next to me and I played. I did the first ever cross-country concert tour on bicycle. Okay, so that's a weird idea, right? I love these ideas. I get so excited about them. And here's what I'm thinking about. Hey, what if we did this? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. And Mike, you don't have enough time for that. That's going to take so much. You don't have the money for that. Here's what I say. You're right. But what if we could? How would we do it? Oh, I know it's nuts. But what if we had to? How would it work? It's so cool. It's what I would call conditional surrender. You are surrendering to their point of view. You're right, this is crazy. But you're moving on with the solution anyway. You're just going to do three things. Number one, it's going to open up your opportunities every single time. Right now, in the face of COVID and everything, it's going to open up opportunities. Number two, it's going to increase your results over time. And number three, it's going to upset them. And I kind of like that. So I want you to ask the question, what if? What if we could do that? If you have people on the phone with potential clients, online with potential clients, in your whatever situation, strategy sessions, saying, well, what if? Well, what if we could do that? I guarantee you, you will discover opportunities that you haven't had before. So cool. So that's number one. Companies who are successful right now are discovering opportunities, new opportunities. They're not sitting around waiting for whatever to change, things to go back to the way they used to be. They're number one, discovering opportunities. Number two, this is what if. Number two, they change quickly, very quickly. They get rid of the negativity toward change, and they jump straight in and they change fast, okay? My clients for years would come to me and say, Mike, we're trying to manage change. We're trying to manage change. Change is all around, change the economy, change the technology. Well, now change has been thrust upon us, right? And people with an aversion to change, entire organizations with an aversion to change, are not making it. Okay, those who are waiting will be left behind. So Peter Drucker summed up my philosophy about this perfectly. He said, managing change is not only stupid, it's dangerous. The only way to manage change is to create change. And now my words, to be the ones who step out and define the curve rather than follow it. And I would argue that when you ask the question, what if? Either individually, which I want you to do, or I love it when entire organizations will say, well, have a what if meeting, okay? Jackie knows how this works. You guys have done this. You've done it wonderfully, as a matter of fact. What if we could do that? It could be a whiteboard. What if we could create this result we've never done? And allow people to give their input. It's amazing what happens. You need to get rid of the red tape. You need to get rid of the reticence to change. And what we're going to do, there are people in your organization, some who will never be on board with change. And that's unfortunate. There are some, though, who are reticent to change, but they're still valuable team members. And you know that, don't you? So what we're going to do during the breakout session is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about exactly how to bring people who are not into change, who are not readily on board with let's try something new, how we can bring them along as well. I call it humanize the change. In the next session, we will talk about humanizing the change. I look at the changes. I had to change quickly. I had to look at the things that are going on around us as opportunities. And I want to share one of them with you right now. This is one of the things that's happening in the world, even before COVID. That's a little different than the way what things were when I grew up. And it's fun. It's for any of you who are parents, because you've dealt with this before. It goes like this. See if this has not happened to you or someone you know. She called on her new cell phone from somewhere at the mall. I could hear her girlfriends laughing at her side. She said that she was next in line there at the tattoo stall, and she just called to ask if I would mind. And I said, Mama, you're too old for a tattoo. While you're under my roof, you'll do what I say to do. So I'm home from the mall. I don't care if all your buddies from the senior center want to. Mama, you're too old for a tattoo. You want to show you're still vivacious here in your later life. But Mom, I just don't think a thong's the thing. Get that picture out of your head. You were 7 times a mother and 40 years a wife. You look creepy in a belly button ring. Mama, you're too old for a tattoo. And while you're under my roof, you'll do what I say to do. I mean, you're almost 73. You should be watching Jeopardy and not hitting on that kid of 62. Mama, you're too old for a tattoo. Want to just have a little fun with you there. So, let's get back into this. Number 1, we're going to discover opportunities, asking the question, what if? Number 2, we're going to step out and change quickly, getting rid of the red tape, getting rid of the reticence to change in the organization, and we're going to talk later about how to humanize that change for the people you know you want to be on board with this, but who have a natural, whatever in their life has caused them to not be into change so much. You can actually bring them along. I'm going to show you how to do that. So there's a third point that every organization who's successful right now is doing, and that is they act decisively, okay? They're cutting through the red tape. This means that they have to raise their risk tolerance. The reason organizations do not act decisively, and individuals as well, by the way, is because there's a fear of failure. There is a fear of what's going to happen. There's a fear of the negativity that could happen from action without having thought it through. And yes, there's a level to which we need to have a healthy caution. But the organizations who are successful act decisively and realize that to succeed faster, you need to fail faster. To succeed faster, you need to fail faster. Elon Musk has talked about that they want to increase their failure rate. They want to get through the problems and get through the things that don't work so they can get to what does. A lot of folks want to try to think through and get rid of those. And it usually doesn't work, and it simply causes us to slow down. And we could debate this all you want, but the fact is, we watched this happen. I watched this in Walmart, how quickly they changed. We watched this in Amazon, how quickly they changed and acted on things. I watched this in my client. I mentioned Orkin a little bit earlier. Orkin didn't realize that they have a process. I mean, they're the pest control company, but they realize they have a process for cleansing and sterilizing. Well, shoot, that's what the world needs right now. And so a process, a product, a service that would have taken over a year, this is their management telling me, would have taken over a year, they rolled out in 2 months. Why? Because they acted decisively. Now, there's a mindset I want you to adopt that's going to allow you to act decisively. And it goes like this. Early on in my speaking career, I was invited to speak for a group of Georgia high school technology students. And there was about 300 students, high school students. And the breakup of the group was the largest single group was African American, second was Hispanic, third was white, and fourth was Asian. And they were from rural communities, from urban communities, and everything across the board. And they wanted me to share my what if keynote experience, and they wanted me to do an additional session on racism, sexism, discrimination, unfairness, and how those affect success. And I thought, yeah, send in the middle-aged white guy. So, but I hit it head on, and I asked them 3 questions. I said, okay, did racism, sexism, and discrimination, unfairness of all sorts, exist 100 years ago? They said, yeah. I said, do racism, sexism, discrimination, and unfairness of all kinds exist today? They said, oh yeah. I said, not to sound pessimistic, but do you think that racism, sexism, discrimination, and unfairness of every kind are going to exist 100 years from now? They said, yeah. I said, so what does that mean for you? It means succeed anyway. Succeed anyway. Will it be harder for you? Probably. Succeed anyway. Is that fair? Not on your life. Succeed anyway. The moment you blame your lack of success or anything wrong in your life or in your business on anything other than yourself, you take all of your power and you hand it to the very people you don't want to have it. The only way to change the system and the best way to stick it to those who would hold you down or your competition is to become a raving, undeniable success. Succeed anyway. You say, oh, but I don't have enough education. I don't care, succeed anyway. I don't have enough money, succeed anyway. I'm too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, too ugly, too pretty. Nothing ever works out for me. I had a bad childhood. I know, it's okay. Succeed anyway. This is the attitude that corporations, associations, and individuals, especially from leadership, need to develop. They need to take the mindset of we are going to succeed anyway. When you have that succeed anyway approach, you will act decisively. So, we're going to discover opportunities, asking what if. We're going to change quickly, and we're going to act decisively, succeed anyway. We'll flesh these out a little bit more in 30 minutes. I want to move on here. There's the 3 of them together. I use the question, what if? I use the, what now? What are we going to do now? To think about the possibilities, to think big. That's how I got to perform at Carnegie Hall. It's amazing to get to play there at all. I got to play there 8 times, okay? And so this works. I got my own show on the Strip in Las Vegas. Right now, I'd like to share with you a goal completion. This is a piece of music I heard, and I thought, I want to play that on a guitar. and people said it was crazy. But I went for it, and it worked. And this is probably the first piece I played is the second hardest piece I've ever played in my life. This is the hardest. It's from Queen. It's called Bohemian Rhapsody. And here we go. Richard Bach once wrote, "Here's a test to see if your purpose in life is over. If you're alive, it isn't. That means there's a purpose and a reason and a divine way that we are here, that we are in this conversation, that we are in this current situation. And there's a purpose behind the things that we do. The world needs what you bring to the table. The world needs the services that you provide, and they need you to do it well. That's why we have to say, hey, what now? We need to discover opportunities. We need to change quickly. We need to act decisively. Thank you so much.